We are super glad you're here. If you cannot see the controls to mute yourself and unmute yourself, please wiggle your mouse at the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen. And when you find all those little bar with all that good little stuff in it, there's something called the chat box. Feel free to use the chat box to speak to us. You can speak to one of us, you can speak to all of us. Either way, as the host, I will see the ones that come to everyone or myself and help you out with any technical issues I can. Alternatively, you may email me at amynichols@areaagencyonaging.org. If something happens and we are Zoom bombed, and if you're not familiar with what a Zoom bombing is, that is when people invade your Zoom session and do nasty, naughty things. If that should happen, we will immediately end this session and pick it up at another time. We are very protective of our Zoom links for our classes, so we do not expect that to happen. We just want you to know that it is a possibility. So you are here. And I am here. So I should tell you a little bit about us. My name is Amy Nichols. I am the campus coordinator for the Campus for Creative Aging, which is a division of the Region 4 Area Agency on Aging. If you all could see Martin right now, wave Martin, thank you. All right, that is the Campus for Creative Aging. He was super, super diligent and smart and put that as his background. So it is located at 2920 Lakeview Drive in St. Joe, Michigan. I know we have some people outside of Michigan, outside of the country as well. So we wanted you to know where we're at. We have a bunch of different classes like this, and our instructor today that I'm going to talk about teaches several of them. We are also on Facebook at Campus for Creative Aging, and we are on Twitter at the Campus for Creative Aging. And our website is, oddly enough, campusforcreativeaging.org. So let me tell you a little bit about our instructor today before I let him stop screen sharing and let him do his thing. His name is Charlie Olszewski. He's an engineer and an educator. He has 20 plus years in higher education and 20 plus years in the private sector. He is learning how to teach via Zoom very quickly here, as his last class was about cybersecurity and the 2020 elections. There'll be another one of those coming up, and you can find that again on our website or our Facebook page. So Charlie, on that note, I'm going to stop screen sharing and I'm going to push it off to you. So welcome.
Alrighty. Let me bring up my screen and whoops, I guess I got to go back over here and share that with you. And in fact, let's put it in the fancy view.
One more. There you go. Now
So,
you're very fancy.
So again, COVID-19 scams is what we're going to talk about today for about an hour. I'm Charlie Olszewski, retired person, but I did spend a lot of my time in both higher ed and in private sector. So college faculty at 3 different colleges in 2 different states and working in 2 different states as well. So brief thing on your page 1 tells you a little bit about me if you do want some information. So please bear with us. Part of this, Amy already told you, we're in a learning mode here in the Zoom, although I think we're moving fairly quickly. And as she said, there's a possibility, I think it's a very remote possibility, that we might get Zoom bombed. If we do, Amy or I will shut the presentation down. The handout that you have that Amy sent you this morning or a little while ago is what I call the version 0. So it's what I prepared to start this with so that you had something to write things down on and take notes and kind of follow along if you want to do that thing. I will have a follow-up to this. It won't have a version 0 on it. It'll be the same file name less the 0, where I'll add some other stuff. As we were getting prepared, I was still making changes to my PowerPoint and adding stuff to this, which seems to be the way I do that stuff. I will look to feedback, and we'll talk to you about that a little bit later as well. So keep in mind, and this, I've been doing seminars for about 5 years. Mostly I was doing stuff on keeping your computer safe, then moved into the scams and did a number of scam seminars with the Attorney General for the state of Michigan. And actually I started out doing my own, got into the Attorney General stuff, and then have gone back to my own. So one of the things for almost everything I do, I don't have all the answers, folks. What I do is do the best job I can of accumulating answers, getting answers on my own, getting answers from a number of my friends and colleagues, and a number of people who have attended my seminars have provided me with a lot of really excellent information that I've incorporated into these things. So basically, I learn more every time I do this. A lot of it comes from those of you who attend and then email me and follow up. Some of you even call me on the phone and follow up, and that is okay. I actually encourage that. Probably the best work I do is my last work. It's the most comprehensive. So the next one after this will be better than this one. So what you signed up for today, and this was taken from the website, as fast as COVID-19 spread through the world, so did the scams. From free test kits to fake checks to grocery store problems, all sorts of issues we've got with COVID-19. So what I'm going to do is talk to you about some of those. One of the things I want to do is give you an idea of what these scams look like. So I think at this point, before we move any further, Amy, do we have a poll question that we can pop up there?
Of course we do. Let me get the first question up here. So if you're not familiar with polls, it is going to pop up on your screen, and you are going to get to hover over it and answer either whatever the answers are. Sometimes you can answer more than one, but this very first poll is a simple yes or no poll. And once you hit your answer, please hit enter so that we know that you have voted. So the question is this: have you ever been the victim of a scam? Yes or no? Have you ever been the victim of a scam? Which I think is a great question, by the way, Charlie. Yes or no?
It took me 3 days to come up with that.
All right, so we are just about one more second while people are voting. And boy, this is an interesting one.
Yeah, this is the most I've ever seen.
Yeah, so it looks like, yeah, yes was 45%. That is pretty large. And one of our participants said they were a victim of a Norton antivirus scam.
Yep.
Which you cover in your other classes, your other sessions.
Yeah, and I've asked this question of many seminars over the last couple of years, and typically I get 2 or 3 people, and sometimes I've had a session with about 30 or 40 people in there, and I don't think I've ever had more than 4 say yes to it. So it says to me, perhaps we're getting more scams, and that's not a good thing. So let's go on to number 2, question number 2. This will be interesting also.
All right, one more second. And I've got to pull it down. And this one says, do you know someone who's been a victim of a scam? Yes or no? So I'm thinking that you might have different, numbers here, but still a little in the higher on the yes side, I would guess.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, we are almost done. One more second. You guys are excellent voters, by the way, in this class, can I just say. You are quick on the draw. So yes was 91% of your people, Charlie, and no was only 9%. So wow.
Yeah, and that's like I say, surprising and not a good surprise. I always expect some of those from past history, but this is a lot compared to what I've seen before. So thank you folks for that, and thank you for attending, and I hope that I can answer some questions and help you out so that you are not the victim of a scam. That is my goal. And certainly if you ask questions and I don't get to those, please follow up with an email to me. My email is all over that document, and I will work with you. So what I've got in mind for today is I want to talk really briefly about current recent scams, give a big picture of it just real quick, and then some typical cautions. I think hopefully you've heard these typical cautions. They're fairly common, people say them. And then what I want to do is really go into some examples. I think that's one of the best things that we can do is give you examples of the scams that are going on. I'm focusing today on COVID-19 scams. Other sessions that I've done on scams, we focused on a lot of different things, but this one will be specifically on COVID-19, though I'm going to take one or two little diversions, as you'll see, then due diligence, then what happens if you're caught in a scam, and some conclusion and a bunch of resources for you as well. So the big picture is this, folks. There are lots of scams. We have just gone through, I think, a several-month period that got extended, actually, of some of the biggest scam times. When we start the holiday season after Thanksgiving up through tax time, that's probably some of the biggest scam times of the year. IRS income tax season, and we extended that this year. So actually we added another month to that, which I'm sure the scammers were excited about that because they had more time to do that. This is a census year. That's kind of a new one. So we have a number of issues with the census coming up. And just a real quick thing, folks, some things to remember. If you are contacted by somebody who claims to be from the Census Bureau and wants all sorts of information for you, they will never ask for your social security number. They will never ask for a credit card. They will never ask for your bank account or your bank routing number, although we have a number of scams where people are asking this information. And those are scams. What they're trying to do is get all the personal information from you. Those are not questions that the census people will be asking you. So just be aware of that. Also, and I didn't, one comment too, wherever you see stuff in red on my PowerPoints, that's stuff that didn't make it to your handout because I added it afterwards. What you might want to do is on your handout, write down census.gov. And then when you go to that website, if you click surveys and programs, and then if you click on help for survey participants, you will get a lot of information about how they are operating and doing the census, which will help you know if you're being involved in a scam or not. So please take a look at that stuff. So in addition to those, we always have what I call seasonal scams. So the seasonal scams, every summer we end up with home repair scams. It's especially here in the northern states, we end up with doing a lot of work that we can't do over the winter. So a lot of that stuff. Summer is also travel season and lots of travel scams. So again, those are popping up. We just had one just a couple weeks ago. And because we're near the RV capital of the country in Indiana, northern Indiana, there was a free RV scam, and there's a URL, and it's included in your handout there. You can look that up, but it was a scam where people were saying you can get a free RV, enter this information, and here you go. So this year, of course, we have a unique one, COVID-19. And these are scams, all of these, the COVID-19 as well as all the others. These are scams that are perpetrated by email, through social media, by web surfing, by phone call, and even some of these are done door to door. And those are perhaps the most frightening ones when someone comes knocking on your door to perpetrate a scam. So the typical cautions, and I think lots of you have probably heard the typical cautions: do not respond to unsolicited text, voicemails, emails, unsolicited ones. If you're not asking for information on deck supplies, if you're not asking for information on the price of plants for my garden, if you're not asking for the information, these are the ones that will be the scams. Not all of them, but that's where they come from. They're unsolicited. Do not respond if they need an immediate response or try to motivate you by fear tactics. So everybody you'll hear talk about that. People who want you to respond fast, they want you to respond fast because that's the way they're going to hook you. They want to scare you into responding, not because they got something good for you, but because they want you to do whatever it is. Do not respond if they request money in form of gift cards that you must purchase, wire transfers like Western Union, MoneyGram. Don't respond if they're asking for payment in Bitcoin. A new one that I just saw as I was preparing for this one, is somebody was requesting the funds in Zelle or Cash App. So there are a number of these cash applications. Once you give the money through those funds, you aren't getting it back. So that's why the bad guys want it. They got it and you can't get it back and they can't trace them. Do not respond to offers on social media from pop-ups or pop-unders that appear when you're cruising the web. We've had pop-ups for a long time. You'll be on the web and suddenly something will pop up in front of you over your website. You may be looking for deck boards and a pop-up comes up and says, hey, we got deck boards on sale. Click here for that. We also have pop-unders, which was a little bit later creation. We ended up with a lot of what are called pop-up blockers that could block those. People employed those. And then the pop-unders, instead of popping up over your material, they're underneath it. So when you close your browser down, you're left with, here's a deal on deck boards. Click here for this. So those are called pop-unders, and we still see those as well. The old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, and that still applies. So again, these are typical cautions that are given. They're very valid cautions, and certainly if you've not heard these things, keep these in mind, and this will help keep you out of trouble. So some examples. What I really want to do is talk about some examples. So the first example, and again, we're in learning mode here, so a little learning thing. I want to show you a video and I'll show you that and then talk about it a little bit. So in order to do that, I need to do something a little bit different. I need to, oops, and I'm in the way of my desktop.
Switching screens is not as easy as it should be on Zoom, I have to say.
Yep, so here we go. And the one I want to do is this one first. So now,
the feds are warning scam.
And what I have to do is go back to sharing this, folks. I forgot that it blocks my desktop when I do that. So let's listen to this.
They're cashing in. NBC's Pete Williams and what to watch out for. Want to know where the coronavirus hotspots are? This app for Android phones claims to provide real-time information. But internet researchers say when downloaded, it locks your phone and asks for a ransom in Bitcoins to unlock it. The FDA and Federal Trade Commission warned 7 companies to stop claiming that their products, including teas and essential oils, can treat the virus. Now a phone scam claims to take reservations for a vaccine.
Pre-booking vaccine for coronavirus health center.
A prosecutor in Virginia is helping lead the federal government's effort to crack down.
We're worried about seniors because they are a vulnerable population, both to this virus as well as to scams.
Among the known scams, fake websites offering to sell medical supplies now in high demand, like surgical masks, phony charities seeking donations, offers to invest in companies claiming they can detect or cure the virus, and even calls or emails pretending to be from doctors who claim to be treating a relative and demanding payment.
Just don't know that you can commit a more ruthless and evil act right now.
His advice, ignore claims of a treatment, there isn't one yet, give only to known charities, and don't fall for someone claiming to be a doctor asking for money. Lester?
It's pretty awful, Pete. Thank you. Up next, how to save.
Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. And you should have on your handout there, you should have some bullet points from this PowerPoint that we just saw, from this video that we just saw. Again, a phone app, and we are developing, and we do actually have, between Google and Apple, there is an app, works by Bluetooth, which can provide information about people who might have COVID virus who are close to you. So there is a valid one with that, but be careful because there are also a lot of not valid ones, and this particular one that they highlighted in this show, actually when you download it, it locks up your cell phone, and then they want Bitcoins to unlock your cell phone. So again, part of what you're going to hear from me a lot of is educate yourself, learn about things, keep up with what's going on, keep up with the fact that the app that does work or is being perfected, I think that's probably a better way to say it, is an app by Apple and Google for your cell phones. 7 companies selling all sorts of products they claim that treat the virus. They don't. Somebody taking reservations for a vaccine that doesn't work, that's not there. So be careful of that as well. Medical supplies, a lot of fake, and you'll see I'm going to go through a bunch of other stuff that I did some web surfing, and we'll show you some stuff. Just a lot of people purporting to sell facial masks, surgical masks, COVID masks, and they're not really doing it. They're taking your money. Phony charities taking donations, investment offers to invest in the development of COVID cures, COVID vaccines, and all that stuff. All of them are bogus. A doctor, as they said in this video, a doctor claiming to treat your relative, and you have to pay the doctor the money. That's not the way it works. Doctors take your insurance information, your Medicare information, whatever, and they treat you and they bill you. They don't go after your relatives. Another example, let me try it this way this time. I've got multiple ways to do this, I think. So let me try this one. Oh, nope, it's not. All right, so let's go back to the other which way. And
I'm just flabbergasted by the locking up the phone for Bitcoin. I would think
And
that that would be one that people would be, you know, more susceptible to using, and then they lock it up. It's just terrible.
Yep. And this one is a cure for COVID. Again, there's some
All
notes.
this fear, fans are wanting scam.
Wrong one. This one also is at the bottom of page 3. There's some notes on this one. So let me go back to sharing this item. And we'll watch this little video. So Inside Edition, just the other day, again, talking about this, I think these were both in early March when I got these. So they're pretty
there
recent.
There are always people who try to capitalize on the situation, like the man who told his 2.4 million followers on Instagram that he had a cure for coronavirus. He was just arrested after the FBI says he tried to sell them pills in an undercover operation. Les Trent has details.
My name is Keith Littlebrook.
This man is making the unbelievable claim that the syringe he's holding can cure the coronavirus.
This is the cure right here going into mass production. And this is going to save and change the world.
Is he a doctor? A scientist? Nope. 53-year-old Keith Lawrence Middlebrook is a bit actor. He had a cameo in Iron Man 2.
I have what makes you immune to the coronavirus.
Not so fast. The FBI just arrested him for attempted fraud. He isn't the only alleged scammer out there. The FBI says thousands of Americans are getting bogus robocalls like this.
If you want to receive a free testing kit delivered overnight to your home, press 1.
This Florida retiree says 2 scammers actually came knocking on his door offering a coronavirus test for $300.
They should be ashamed of themselves. I hope they catch them.
Morris Umansky called 911.
There's some people that came to my door yesterday that offered me a coronavirus test. It's a scam. I knew it was a scam. I'm 72 years old, but I wasn't born yesterday.
Our investigation also found ads offering test kits all over the internet. We paid $600 for 30 of these coronavirus home testing kits. Guess what? They never arrived. Obviously a complete scam. North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein is vowing to shut down anyone selling unapproved test kits.
It is wrong to exploit people's desperation to make a quick buck.
The company that makes those test kits, Biomedics, tells us that's not their ad or their product on Craigslist. They tell us they sell only to authorized distributors, clinical professionals, and government agencies for FDA guidance.
Okay, so again, at the bottom of your handout on page 3, you have some information about people here, and let's go back and share the PowerPoint one more time. Oops. So again, this Keith Middlebrook attempted fraud for selling cures that don't exist, robocalls. This one is the most frightening to me, the scammer who knocks on the door. When I do the scam sessions, I think the scams that involve people actually coming to your house and knocking on your door, those are the most frightening. Those are the most threatening. They're the greatest possibility of actual physical harm to you. So until I saw this, I wasn't aware of any of the scams, the COVID scams being perpetrated by people knocking on your door. So they do it even there. And then of course the test kits, a whole bunch of test kits, a lot of scams involving test kits too. So one of my favorite websites, and there's the URL for you on your handout on page 4 of your document. This is from the Better Business Bureau. Better Business Bureau has got a lot of really good information about scams on its website. And one of the things that I do really like about this one is that this one is what's called a scam tracker. So you can actually go into this website. If you go to that URL that I have there, and you will see it's actually set up by default to go with the United States and Canada. I selected just the United States. So it gives you a map of the United States and shows you overall all the scams. Now the default setting for that under scan type is all. So it would show everything, and this map, when it comes on, is just a total blotch of red and yellow and blue. Since I was focusing on COVID-19 scams, I set it specifically for only COVID-19 scams. And then the other thing that you want to do if you use this is you can set your date period on that. I believe the default goes back to January of 2015. I decided to look at from March 1st to August 3rd, the COVID virus really started catching on in March here in the US, so I figured the scammers couldn't be that far ahead of us. And so when I did that, setting it for COVID-19 scams only, setting it for the US only, all states in the US, and the period of March 1st to August 3rd, what it popped up is there are 1,317 scams reported to the BBB. Now the reds, Los Angeles, Cleveland, Philadelphia, these are the hot spots. These are the biggest number of scams. The yellows, closest we come is Chicago. Those are the next highest level of scams. The blues, the next highest. Then there are a lot of scams outside of those, but that's where they're grouping them. So a lot of scams there, and set it up and look at it. Next, what I did is I wanted to drill down a little bit. And what you can do is when this comes up, you can zoom into this map and look closer, and then you can also move it around. So what I did is I zoomed in and moved over to Michigan to our area. And again, you can set how much of an area you want, and as you change that area, you'll watch the number change. So good news, bad news, if you're trying to track all those 184 and you go into looking at them and then you accidentally move the map, now you've got a different 122 or 190 some, and you can't get back to where you were, so be careful. One of the other sessions I show you how to use this website, but not in this one. So we had 184 specifically COVID-19, or no, actually this was all types of scams. This was all types of scams in our area, 184 of those. So then I decided to zoom in, well, actually before that, let me tell you what happened. So you get this map up, and right underneath the map, right below there out of sight, what you get is a list of all those 184 scams. And that looks like this. This was from an earlier presentation I did, so it had different ones in there. And then the really cool thing about this is that if you click on the date or the type or whatever, if you click on that number, you'll bring up a box that looks like this. This will tell you what type of a scam it was. So this was a phishing scam. It will tell you if there was a business name involved. Sometimes there's a business that's associated with it. Sometimes you don't know a business name. It will also tell you the date that it was reported to the Better Business Bureau. And then it'll tell you the postal code of the person who's reporting it. So you get an idea of where it's coming from. And then this is the good thing, folks. It's a description. And this is the description that the person who's being scammed writes up. So if I was a victim of a scam, or possibly the victim of a scam, and I wanted to alert other people, I can write in that description. And these descriptions vary in length from very short, as you see here, to very detailed, which I'll show you in a minute. So one of the things, if you're using this, I just caution you not to use your back button. And if you want, I can do another session specifically on how this website works. But what I did is got a little bit closer to home to see what was going on. Again, I didn't narrow it down specifically to COVID scams. I left it open to all the possible scams. And then I changed it back to January 1st of this year and found there were 29 scams in this area. So it does take us from us all the way across into Indiana and that. So let's look a little bit. And again, these red ones would tell you there's more. The blue ones, we've got fewer numbers with those. But let's take a look at those. What I found out when I keyed in on them and I looked at the box, only 2 of those 29 were what are referred to as COVID-19 scams. Now, we went back to December. COVID-19 wasn't even on that checkbox for the Better Business Bureau because we didn't know of COVID-19. So there are a lot of different scam types that we'll see on this, and that's why I didn't limit it just to COVID-19 scams. I left it open to everything. So this was the first one that was listed. This one happened on May 9th. This person did lose money. Not everybody loses money. A lot of the people who report these are just tipping you off that this scam is going on and they were fortunate and didn't lose anything. This person lost $23.97. They were in the 49120 zip code. I believe that's Niles. So they ordered COVID masks. So you're going to see a lot of those people. They ordered these masks and they never got them. The second one, the other scam that was labeled a COVID scam, there was some company named Remark Green. It was reported on May 5th. This person lost $67.70. They were also in the 49120 zip code. They ordered 2 masks and they've still not received those things. So those are the only 2 scams reported to the Better Business Bureau. Now, keep in mind, this is not all the scams that are going on. These are the ones that people take the time that they know, first off, know that they can report these to the BBB, and second, take the time to do that. 2 others caught my mind. We've heard a lot, I think, with COVID that people are getting dogs. Many of them in our local shelters are encouraging you to come down and get them from the shelters, but a lot of people are buying them. This person lost $2,600. These are Burmese puppies. I guess those are really exotic. And this is the one that they were required to make their payments through Zelle or Cash App. So again, folks, when you get these cash applications, these things like that, that's not a good thing. And that was labeled an online scam. This one is labeled a spoofing scam. This one was about Medicare card. So we still are getting, this was July 20th. This was just a couple weeks ago. This person fortunately didn't lose any money, but again, it illustrates some interesting things. It was their Medicare card. So we changed our Medicare cards the last year, I think it was, where we all got new Medicare cards and new numbers on that. People are still going after that. The person said he had all his information. And that was the way you know that he was legit, because he knew everything about you. And then they got into an argument, and the guy saw his caller ID, said it was the Xfinity phone number on the caller ID. So again, watch your caller IDs. They can be spoofed is another key. So when I looked over again at the beginning, I saw 1,317 COVID-19 scams reported the BBB from March 1st till just this past Monday. Most of them did not lose anything. So the dollar amount lost was listed as 0. Here was a huge one. This is a COVID scam. This person lost $50,000. And I don't remember where this was. This might have been Philadelphia. But they lost $57,000. This was a antivirus software purchase. The company, they didn't get the money. They actually took control when they went to get the download the antivirus. The company, it's kind of a ransomware attack, I would say also. They took over the computer so that the person, like they said, they couldn't even use their mouse on their computer at the time. They opened up a page for their bank account, the person's bank account. They took a $10,000 withdrawal, then a $29,000, then $18,000. Ultimately, this person lost $57,000, came right out of their bank account. They're claiming that they didn't deliver it because of the pandemic, because they couldn't get the material delivered to them, the antivirus software to them. Another one was a $1,600 loss. SBA loans with the COVID virus through some of our bills. We're providing SBA loans for some small businesses to be able to keep going. And this company, a fake company that was put up, providing information to people about how to get business loans. Of course, they have an application you've got to fill out. They collect all sorts of information on you. And this person lost $1,600 as a consequence. Most of what I see when I went through the BBB site, most of that involves purchasing masks, purchasing disinfectant, sanitizing, and then a lot of them that are popping up are, well, we can't get it because of shipping problems with COVID. Well, I know there are some issues with shipping problems because of COVID, but some of these people are using that as an excuse to get your money and keep you from getting a credit card company to stop payment by saying that it's being slow. Many of the items are masks, so I saw losses of $33, $36, $300, $23, and $67 for trying to purchase masks. Hand sanitizer and disinfectant, Lysol is real popular. Somebody lost 60, 46, 50, 82, 68, 72 for a sanitizer. And then a number of them being blamed on shipping, that they can't get it. Somebody had ordered a golf rangefinder and it wasn't coming. All they're doing is trying to prolong it. They don't want you to have the credit card company stop payment if you used a credit card, so that they get beyond that. The antivirus one that we saw, $57,000 was lost on that because of shipping. Said they couldn't get you the antivirus because of that. So recognizing scams. How do we protect ourselves? Well, we got to recognize this, right? So, and there's two categories, if you will, of scams. One is known scams, like all the ones I just talked about. Those are now known. And then the unknown one. Let's talk about the known ones first. This is easy. If you are going to a website called Remark Green, I would tell you don't do that. Don't go there. We know that they're scammers. If you are going to a website that's got a cure for COVID-19 and the person who's pitching that cure is Keith Lawrence Middlebrook, don't go there. We know it's a scammer. So relatively easy to deal with those known scams. Don't do that. So basically memorize them. Of course, 1,300 and what scams there were. It's a lot to memorize. Or as my college students used to say, look it up on the web. Well, if you've got your web locked up with that person and they're trying to get you to make a decision real quick, how fast can you flip between screens? I'm usually pretty good, but you saw how slow I was here with the sharing going back and forth. So they might know you're doing something. Unknown scams are the problem. Unknown scams are a big problem. How do we deal with that thing? And certainly those cautions that I gave you in part B above earlier in that, keep those in mind. But I would say also what I would like you to do is learn to substitute a detective response for your fear response. When you are getting scammed and in the process of this going on the web, we get frightened, we get scared, we panic. And I think a lot of us know psychologically there's the flight or fight type response that you have. Neither of those work really well. What I'd like you to do is see if you can substitute for that an investigation. Oh, my gosh, this sounds interesting. What is going on here? And get into a detective mode on this thing. What can I find out? Is this really real? And one of the key things I think is slow. Take your time. You don't have to make this purchase. I don't care what that person's saying. You don't have to make that purchase at this time. Slow it down. Slow the whole thing down. Look, read, listen. Get into an investigative mode. Get into thinking about this thing. Basically, what I want to do is get you to think about concepts and principles. What's involved, not just memorizing, because you can't memorize the 13,000 of them, 1,300 of them, and then they're going to change. So only certain information is required for certain types of transactions, right? If I'm going to purchase a mask, nobody needs to know my social security number to do that. If I'm going to purchase a mask, nobody needs to know what my bank routing number is if I'm going to give them a credit card number. So start thinking about what are the things that make sense for what I'm doing. If it seems strange, it's because it probably is strange. There is no cure for COVID right now. Now, part of that also relies on that other thing I was talking about, be informed. So being informed about what's happening with our vaccines, what's happening with cures, keeping up data on all of that. I know that's a trade-off. Some people that I know have just quit listening to the news because they're so overwhelmed by all the COVID virus stuff. But at the same time, rather than just totally turn it off, we've got to stay tuned a little bit to what's going on. Again, email asking to confirm my bank and accounting routing number for my stimulus check. When I see that, stop and think. Get into investigative mode. Don't have to place that order immediately. They did not perform a medical procedure on your loved one on a promise that you will pay them. So if my niece, if I got a call from some doctor saying my niece said you'll pay my doctor bill, not going to happen. I think most of us have probably had some experience with the medical industry. When you go to your doctor, when you go to your hospital, when you go to any of those places, first thing they do is they ask for your insurance card. For some of us, they ask for your Medicare card as well, but they get that information up front. They never ask who is your nearest relative who's going to pay for this. So when somebody says, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and you owe money because your niece is in the hospital, if you don't pay now, well, we're just going to let her die. That didn't happen. Again, get into that investigative mode. In order to do that, let's look at a little bit more specific information. So again, due diligence, what I call due diligence, investigating, researching, studying something before you get involved. These are good things to do when we're dealing with scams. So spotting a potential scam, look for fake email addresses. I'm going to go into that here in a little bit. Watch those pop-ups and pop-unders. Some of them could be very legitimate, but a lot of them aren't. Look at and learn how to read the links. I'll show you in a minute how to do that to the website. Look at your caller ID and deal with that. Again, due diligence, get informed, read your local newspapers, read the TV, listen to the radio ads, ask friends and family, ask experts. TVs, go to a TV store and find out about various brands of TVs. Educate yourself before you get hooked on some scammer saying this thing is the best. You can research companies. You can do a lot of your fact checking on websites. Certainly, we all know reputable dealers. If we want to buy a stereo, we want to buy a TV, we know brands, we know stores that sell those. Ask family and friends. Ask professionals you trust. One of the interesting things when I talk about home improvement scams, I often advocate to people, if you have a plumber there doing some work for you, but you know you're going to be working on an electrical project, ask the plumber. That plumber is likely to know an electrician because they probably work side by side and they'll say, oh, so-and-so is a good electrician. Now you've probably got a much more reputable electrician than the other. Or sometimes the plumber will say, well, I'll tell you, don't ask for such and such electrician because he's worked alongside of him and knows too. So great sources of information. Again, research stuff before you make impulsive buys. Charities are big ones. As you saw in our COVID scams, we're getting a lot of charity things. There are two good websites to go to. If you have been solicited by a charity, don't give to them until you go to either Charity Navigator or GuideStar.org and look them up. These people track the good charities and the bogus ones. Licensed contractors. Michigan has the Licensing and Regulation Administration, LARA website. I forgot to stick that in there. I'll have to get that to you on the follow-up. But contractors need to be licensed. If you do have a electrical project, if you're doing electrical in your house, you as a homeowner are in Michigan allowed to do that on your own, but you do have to follow code and it does have to be inspected. But you also, if you're not going to do that, the electrician that you hire must be licensed. Go to the LARA website, look up, make sure they are. Anybody can tell you they're licensed. Look it up, you get their actual license number, and you find out if they have any problems with them too. So stop unwanted solicitations. Another way to reduce the likelihood of getting scammed is get on the do not call registry. It's not perfect, but it will block some of the scams that might come to you. So there's the website for it. And there is the 800 number if you don't want to do it by web. And then there's another one that you can eliminate pre-approved offers. Opt-out pre-screen is the website, or there's a phone number for that. Those are included in your handout. Again, detective work. What I want you to do when you get one of these things and once you feel the panic coming out, once you feel the fear, once you feel that anxiety, see if you can do a switch. Just say to yourself, why is this going on? What is happening? How can I get curious about this? Oh, wow. Let me see what I can find out. See if you can flip yourself from those feelings that are only going to get you in trouble to more what is sometimes called an adult level, a thinking level, an investigative level, so that you can work on these things, become a detective. Now, I've been advocating that, but you need to have some techniques if you're going to do that, don't you? So let's talk about suspicious phone numbers. Here's one just the other day that I got on my phone. They must have known I was preparing this and wanted to give me a new phone number. So as you can see on my caller ID, I've got a strange phone number, and it's even labeled invalid phone number. This is actually the most weird one I've had. Usually it only has one there, the 269 218 3963 phone number. This one had two ones, which tells me it might be an international call that came in. So what you want to do is get that number, write it down, take a picture of it, whatever, because what you want to do is get investigative on this, right? You want to start looking this thing up. Oh, that's right. I accidentally left this in here from the last one of my other ones, but let's listen to this. This is kind of fun. So I don't have to flip a screen here.
Please call 1-800-616-7606. Let me repeat. This is a very important call to notify you that your Microsoft Windows license key has been expired on your computer. So Microsoft Corporation has stopped the Windows services in your computer. To renew the Microsoft Windows license key, please call 1-800-61.
So the really interesting thing about that is this was, I believe, on a Saturday. This was a day when I was sitting at my computer in my office working on probably one of my presentations. And I'd been doing that for about 2 hours, and I got this phone call that my computer is no longer working. It's just, these are scams, folks, and that's the way they work. So get that number and take that number and go to your website and type in phone scams and type in that number. Now you can drop off that 11 or the 1, just do the area code and number. And when you put that in there, you're going to possibly you will find, in fact, I've done this a number of times, and you will find all sorts of stuff comes up, scam, 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 and it talks about these scams. So sometimes you won't get that right away, so you might want to refine your search. So if they did say a company in there, you might want to put the phone number in and the company name. Might have been the company Take You Money Inc. So now you can search for Take You Money Inc. and their phone number and you might get something else. And then you may have to refine it again. But again, investigative, look into these. Email, very similar. When you get an email from somebody like I steal you, use your search engine. Do the same thing. Look up, type in email scams instead of phone scams, and then I steal you. And then you may get some information on it. If that doesn't work, then repeat the steps 4 and 5. If they did say a company name, like Take You Money, put Take You Money and I Steal You, and you may find stuff. I've done this a number of times, and almost always within 1 or 2 times you end up getting all sorts of, this is a scam, this is a scam, and this is a scam. Okay, so I think we got a third poll coming up here, Amy.
We
Third
do.
question.
We do. Good information so far, Charlie. And I have done the I Take You Money after I saw one of your other ones. So, all right. This one is about websites, and it says, is there a definite difference between a secure website and a website that is not secure? So is there a definite difference between a secure website and a website that is not secure? And we're almost done with the voting. Couple more seconds here. Alrighty, and I am going to end the voting right now.
Good.
So it does look like your people say for the majority, yes. You've got one outlier that says no.
And that's okay, and that's good, because it's the outliers that we're hoping to be able to educate a little bit better. It's my timer to let me know I got 5 minutes left. So to that one person, or even those who answered it because they wanted to sound like they knew what they were talking about, yes, there is a definite difference between those, and we're going to show you about that here in a minute. So here it is, and this is also on your handout as well. It shows you a picture of this, and what we want to look for, and there is a definite difference. Secured websites, HTTP, secure HTTP has a way that it's displayed, and secure HTTP is a protocol that actually encrypts data, and it is much more secure than the standard HTTPS. The way you know that you've got that is you see the S, it's HTTPS, not just plain old HTTP. And also on most browsers, you will see a little lock. My browser, I use Firefox, I think, for this one, and that's a green lock that indicates that it's secure. So it's very definitely different. Look for that lock, look for that, especially this part. This is the one, whether the lock is shown or not, this is the one that's critical. It has to be HTTPS, the secure hypertext protocol, transfer protocol. So whenever you're entering a password, whenever you're entering a credit card number, whenever you're entering personal information, always be sure that you're on a secure website, the HTTPS.
Charlie, we did have a question before you move on too much.
Sure.
And the question was, is a secure site, in this person's opinion, would be websites from your workplace, or no? They're not necessarily?
They're websites from any place, any website at all. So the when we're using the internet, when we're doing stuff, there are a lot of protocols, a lot of standards for how stuff gets transferred. There's a time protocol, which tells how we make sure that your clock on your computer is actually showing the right time. So there's a whole set of standards that says, what do you do and how do you do that? HTTP is called Hypertext Transfer Protocols. There's a whole set of standards that says if you want to transfer stuff across the web and it wants to be visual stuff with pictures, then we use HTTP. Another one of them is called Secure HTTP. That's HTTPS. That's a secure one. What that means, several things, but one of the things that it means is it's going to encrypt the data that's sent from your device to the other device, and it will accept encrypted data back. Normal HTTP does not encrypt. Now, there are a couple other things that go on if you use the HTTPS protocol, but it does make it much safer, and the biggest thing is encrypting it. If it's not encrypted, anybody can intercept that packet, and you'll have your password, your credit card number, your social security number.
Great, thank you. Yep.
So verifying web pages. Another thing that we want to do is we want to take a look at web pages. And web pages have a lot of links. This is actually the FTA site that I think you should look at periodically. And it has a number of links on the page. So if you do what we call hover over that, in other words, you put your cursor just on top of that, what you will see down in the bottom left-hand corner is the URL, the Universal Resource Locator, the place that that is going to take you to. Now, what you're looking for is a match. So I know this is the FTC site, Federal Trade Commission site. So when I look down here at that website that it's going to go to, I did notice that it is an FTC website. If I saw that this is istealyoumoney.com in that, I probably don't want to click on that and go there because you're going to go to some place that you're going to really regret. So get used to looking at websites, get used to evaluating your websites. Spam blockers, a lot of spam blockers. This is one that comes with Firefox if you enable it. Firefox, as you do your Google searches, will let you know if the link is safe or not. So you see these little green check marks that tell you that. So get used to looking at that, get used to seeing that. You can also use all sorts of other spam blockers to block stuff. So what happens if you get caught in a scam? If you get caught in a scam, the first thing you want to do is interrupt it, right? So this is something that's absolutely important to do, is to interrupt this thing. And it's different if you're in person. If it's different on the phone, it's different online. In person, like I say, the scariest one, the best thing you can do is 911. On the phone, you can merely hang it up and you're pretty set. Online, a little bit different. I have another class where you talk about online and shutting those down. But you do want to get out of that as quickly as you can. After that, what you need to do, what you may need to do, if you are truly a victim, if something did happen, you need to contact authorities and then need to file complaints if something did happen, if you were actually victimized, and reports as well. And the final thing is I'd like you to be able to recover from this because these can be pretty traumatic. Okay, so got 2 more polling questions. So how about number 4?
Number 4 coming your way. Hold on. All right. And this one says, do you know how to file a complaint or report a scam? So the answers are yes, no, or maybe. So we're just looking to see if you know what to do or how to file a complaint or a report if there was a scam. Don't forget to hit enter. And we're just about there.
Oh, good.
Right.
You got a
Yeah.
50-50.
So it's about 50-50. Yes,
Cool.
no, your answer, you have every gambit right there, which
There you go. 50-50.
All
right, so let's talk about that. Oh yeah, and let's do number 5.
Okay. And then let's do number 5. And this one says, is there a difference between reporting and filing a claim? So the words are different. Is there actually a difference between the meanings? Reporting, is there a difference between reporting and filing a claim? Alrighty, and I think we're gonna go like that. Oops, sorry friends, I hit enter and I stopped it. So I'm gonna share it. Not everyone had voted, sorry Charlie, but looks like you have, most of the people are onto your ways, I think.
Yep. And I probably should have reversed those questions. Let's look at how we do that. So if you're victimized, like I said, stop it. So if it's in person, folks, you got to do 911. If somebody is coming to your door and you're not expecting them, there's a possibility it could be a scam. I advocate taking your phone with you. I have a portable phone. We can carry that. My wife or I can just carry that to the door with us. A lot of people use their cell phones, carry it with you, and be prepared to do that. If it's by phone, just hang it up. AARP has a fraud watch helpline also that can help you with scams as well. And I don't know why I stuck that there, but I did. And then if it's online, like I say, there's a lot of stuff and there's a whole other class I have on how to do with that. But if you are victimized, if you lose money, if you gave, and a number of people that I know have had this happen, they've gave their credit card to somebody and realized, oh no, I should not have done that. At that point, they hung up the phone, but at that point, you've got to assume you've been victimized. So what you need to do at that point is contact your credit card company. If it's a bank, if you've given them your bank account number or routing number, you need to contact your bank. In Michigan, you can contact the Attorney General's office and talk to them about it. Basically, you're looking at enforcement action and you need to have legal clout behind that, number one. So you need police involvement, and you also need your source of funds to be notified that there's a problem. To file a complaint, you can go to the Federal Trade Commission to do that. They've got a couple different websites that you can do, but you go to the FTC complaintassist.gov, or you can go to the FBI and file a complaint there as well. econsumer.gov, if it's an international scam, online scam, econsumer.gov is the place to go on that one. And recovering from it, I know is tough, but we need to be able to do that. Here's the FTP sites for complaints. There are the two different ones. They get you to the same place if you click file a consumer complaint. The Attorney General, here's how you get to that. You can do it either online or a paper version. For phishing emails, you can actually forward that email either to spam@use.gov or report phishing at antiphishing.org. Both of those can be reported that way. For reporting, so filing a complaint, what you're doing when you're filing a complaint is you're setting up for some legal action. You need to be protected. You need to maybe take some action against this person. And that's the purpose of filing a complaint. That's why you need to go to law enforcement. That's why you need to go to either the FTC or the Attorney General. You may just want to report that there's some scam going on. And that's a good thing. We like that. That helps us all get educated. That's where I got a lot of the information at the beginning of this thing. In order to do that, BBB, Better Business Bureau, or FTC for reporting those. And I am going beyond time here. Again, like I said, if you want help on frauds, AARP has a great website that will help you with that. They also have, what's really cool, they've got a hotline. You can actually call somebody. I had, after one of my sessions, I had a woman who did have online issues, and she called me because she was in a panic. And unfortunately, the IT person did not do a good job of helping her. Didn't do anything to help her understand that she was okay. Just said, no big deal, and kind of go away, we'll take care of it. So I know it can be very disruptive to you. I know it can be very unsettling. Certainly contact me by email and I'll walk you through it, whatever I can. But also I encourage you to do this AARP helpline on that too. They will help you as well. Conclusion, wrap up, slow down. You don't have to move real fast with this stuff. Unless you're trying to get your presentation done for the next person. But other than that, you don't have to rush. Substitute your fear response for a detective mode. I know this is not easy to do, but this is what I'm saying. When you feel that panic, when you feel that anxiety, you know that you're anxious, you know you're panicking, you know you're feared. See if you can get into the, this is interesting. See if you can flip to that mode, to a thinking mode instead, and start becoming a detective. Stay informed. I know it's hard in the day of COVID. A lot of us want to turn the news off, but you do have to stay informed. There are a lot of things that are changing. Just the last week of July, we found out of new treatments. Two people had double lung transplants over at Northwestern Hospital, just across the pond from us, as I say. So a lot of stuff is changing with this stuff. A lot of stuff is happening, and we do need to keep informed on that. Go back to that page 3 of this handout. Those typical cautions, those are very valid. They're very good things. To prevent and deter, you really have to be informed. You have to go slow. You've got to do the due diligence, look things up, check them out, check out your charities, check out licenses of contractors, look up those websites, look up the phone contacts that you're getting. Read the news, the big 3. Never give gift cards, never do wire transfers. Buy from reputable people. Fear and loneliness in these pandemic times, I often talk about in my regular seminars, the role of fear and loneliness that plays and scams. It's a biggie. And I think in the pandemic times, with all of us being closed in, me doing these things rather than in person, now over the web, there is more of a reason for people to feel lonely. So people prey on that. People really, these bad guys are really good at preying on the loneliness and preying on your fear, and you have to be careful. Okay, I think we got a last poll question coming up here, Amy.
Oh, we do, and it's a good one. So that was my favorite one of all of them. Okay. Is it okay to be rude or argue with a scammer? Yes, definitely. Maybe, maybe not. Or no, definitely not. So is it okay to be rude with a scammer? So yes, maybe, or no. All right, I'm gonna give it just another second. Okay, let's see what the results say. And again, you have kind of a split crowd on this one. Yes, definitely was like 57%. I would have answered yes if I was allowed to vote.
I still don't know what I answer on this. And here's the deal. Like I showed you in that earlier one, that person was rude with him. That person got into and said, I'm fed up with your poop. I suspect that they didn't say it exactly that way, but that's what they wrote up in the BBB thing. Yeah, and I do have a number of my friends, breakfast group of my buddies that has disbanded now, and we're slowly starting to come back. But a number of those guys we would talk about, I had a couple of them were really great, man. They would just toy with these scammers on the phone or over the web and that stuff, especially the phone ones. It's good news, bad news. Like, go back and look at that BBB thing that I had there. That person said he had all your information. They knew all about you. And they, in fact, sometimes may have your address. They may have your phone number. If you don't want phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe you don't want to argue with them and be too rude with these people, because they have been known to do that since they've got your phone number. Now you get those 2 o'clock calls, those 1 o'clock calls, and it's really tough. Then you do the phone call block on there to get rid of them. But the first time is throwing you out of bed, not so good. So I don't know the real answer to that. I don't know that there is a good answer to that. Be careful, but I do know a lot of people who have really done a lot of toying with them and been very rude to them. I have no problem hanging up on a phone call. I have no problem. I'll shut down the tab in my browser. I'll close down the browser. I'll shut down my computer when something bad happens. That's perfectly fine. But how much you want to get into it, be careful, I would say, on that. So I'll for another day, I'll write this up and send it to you, but I'm kind of looking at there's sort of different groupings of types of scams that might go on. I'm looking at it from a very different perspective than what most people look at it. I'm not looking at it from phishing and all that, but opportunistic and panic scams and routine and that. So I'll write that up and get it to those who are in attendance when I do the final thing. So there are some resources I put out there on your handout. I'm just going to tell you they're on at the back of your handout to take a look at. I think I've done all the information well. I did a couple little things there, information to help. But all this information is in your handout. And then there's some future sessions. The next one I have in a couple weeks on August 20th will be part 2 of the election ones. There may be a third one to that. Incidentally, if you did not attend part 1, this is not on your handout. You did not do that, and you want to go to part 2, and you're curious what happened in part 1, just pick up my email off that handout, send me an email, and say, send me the presentation, and I'll be happy to send you that. It's a PDF, so anybody can read it. And then the other thing is, I do keep an email list, and I send reminders via email list of things that are coming up. So if you're not on my email list, I know Wendy is on my email list. I know Marty's on my email list. So some of you are on the email list. But if you're not on my email list and you want to be, send me an email and say that. I may do another one of these if there's enough interest. And then Martin, that you see there is going to be doing an Excel class, but I think it's all filled. So we're going to start doing some of that stuff through the area agency on that. There's no cost at this point. We used to charge for that, but for right now, no cost. So there's a bunch of topics in there, but that's, I've overstayed my welcome on this. So we have somebody else ready to go.
Never, never. Now, I don't want anybody to leave, so I'm going to say this. First of all, thank you, Charlie. That was really great information. And as always, you know, I call him the smartest guy I know. He always argues with me, but he's always done his research. But I do want to introduce Sally Huber because she is a movement expert. And I am going to unspotlight Charlie and I'm going to spotlight her. And she is a movement expert and she is going to now that we've learned all of these scams, give us some breathing techniques to deal with it when we get scammed.
Amen. Yes.
And also deal with any, you know, COVID-19 or anything. So she is just a fabulous person. Like I said, a movement expert. And she is just going to give us a little breathing techniques and I'll let her explain it because she's way better at it than I am. So take it away, Miss Sally.
I hope that everybody can hear me. I'm here at my house, and I want to warn you that there'll be little cats that will walk by. My cats usually like to be on the show, so don't be surprised. Charlie, thank you. I have to say that I'm feeling a little nervous. All that and going, oh my God, I've donated politically, or I've done donations online or over the phone. You know, you get a little bit fluffed up. And I have to say, when Charlie says, go into your detective mode, guess what? What can be the segue that takes you from to detective mode? Guess what it is? It's your breath, right? I mean, I'm sure your parents told you and you told your kids too. Stop and take a few breaths, right? Count to 10, switch to a different mode. And the breath is the perfect thing to do. If any of you guys have ever taken a meditation class, you know that breathing is meant to relax us. So when we breathe, it's doing a couple things for us. It's helping us live. Without it, we die. It's energizing us when we need to. It's relaxing us. And it's even fueling our body. It's fueling the cells in our body. And just super fast, I'm not going to get too sciencey, but when we breathe in air from the atmosphere, basically what our body does is it turns that air into oxygen. The oxygen cells feed our whole entire body, and then the bad stuff, the carbon dioxide, is sent out as we breathe out. So one of those things is the breath helps us to relax, right? So I'm going to ask everybody who feels comfortable to please stand. And I'm going to partially ask you to stand with your eyes closed for a bit. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to get all this stuff out of my way because otherwise I'll tell you to be careful and then I'll fall. So sometimes if my eyes are closed, I want to know that there's something around. It could be a wall, or it could be my kitchen counter, or it could be my desk, or something that when I feel like, oh, I'm going to close my eyes, do I feel really wiggly? I have something to grab onto that makes me feel a little safer. My arms are down by my side. Before I close my eyes, I'm going to look at my alignment, because believe it or not, you know, alignment is really important for our breathing. It's really important for our organ function and everything else. So just think, when you look down at your feet on the ground, and you can have your shoes on if you want, or you can pop them off. If you feel safe popping your shoes and socks off. And you just want to think, and this seems like a duh kind of comment, but your toes should be going straight ahead, right? And I say that, but you know, a lot of us stand like this, or we stand like this, or we stand like this. Your legs are straight and your toes are facing forward, okay? The other thing that I'm going to say is relax those shoulders. We don't need to be standing at attention. We want our shoulders relaxed, a nice distance from our ears to our shoulders. We want our ribs kind of smooth against the belly wall. We are going to be talking a lot about the rib cage. And you know, my mother told me to stand like this, but technically this is more effective and helpful, okay? Now also, because a lot of us spend a lot of time at our computers and stuff, sometimes we have a tendency to stand like this with our head forward, right, and up, and that's making us more nervous as well. So I'm going to say, ramp your head back like you're trying to give yourself a little double chin, and kind of just elongate the back of your neck. So now my alignment is, my toes are facing forward, my legs aren't together, right? They're hip distance apart. My ribs are smooth against the belly wall, and my head, basically what I'm trying to do is put my head back between my shoulders, okay? And that already feels different, doesn't it? Now, I'm gonna ask you safely, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Arms are down by your sides, and eyes are closed. I'm gonna keep mine open to keep an eye on you, okay? Good. All right, so now what I want us to do is begin to just go inside our body rather than thinking about all that great stuff that Charlie told us, or think about what we're making for dinner after this. Just go inward. Imagine that I drew your shape with a pencil, front, back, and side to side, from your feet all the way to your head, and go in there. Don't try to change your breath at all. Your breath is a reflex. Your body has the capacity to, as I like to say, breathe you. And so for right now, let your body take over and breathe you. Try to take away all the thoughts about stressful things in the news and COVID. Maybe you feel your heart beating. And then I want you to just think, where are the parts of my body that feel calm and good? It's always nice to focus on the good. Now I wonder if you might notice how your body is breathing you. Is it even, or is it not as even as you thought? Are the breaths big, or do they feel kind of little? Where is the breath expanding your body? Is it where you expected it? Are you breathing into your belly? Do you feel your ribs moving? Do you feel your shoulders moving? Now, go ahead and open your eyes. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is, do you feel a little calmer? Do you feel a little bit more settled? So just to talk a little bit about the breath in really simplified terms, and you can open your eyes, the biggest components or players in your breath are your lungs and your diaphragm, okay? And they live in this area, okay? And this area, the diaphragm and the lungs, among other things, are protected by a bony cage, which is your rib cage, your sternum, and to a certain extent, your spine and back. But we have ribs all the way up here, right? Our rib cage goes from like here to here, okay? What happens when we breathe in is each rib separates a little bit from one another, and also the whole rib cage kind of opens up. And when we exhale, the ribs kind of knit down and together, and everything kind of closes up. Okay, we inhale and this expands and opens, and we exhale and it all comes down together. Inhale means we're breathing in, exhale means we're breathing out, okay? Our muscles are involved in that, our abs are involved in that, but also we have soft tissue that helps to make that happen as well. And the reason why a movement teacher is teaching a breath class to you today is because if I sit all the time, or I kind of am still and not moving all the time and not juicing all this up, my capacity to breathe is limited. And that means that I might feel more stressed. It might mean that my cells aren't getting the food that they need, right? So it really, really behooves us to move around and keep things juicy, especially in this area. Okay, so the other thing that I'm gonna say is I am not a doctor, although I like to think I'm that smart. So none of what I tell you is medical advice. And if you have a physical therapist or a doctor who says, don't do that, then I want you to always think my doctor knows more than Sally does, as much as I hate to hear it. The other thing is, if you feel pain, you stop what you're doing. Nothing I'm going to ask you to do should be painful. I don't ever want you to do that. You can stop altogether. You can modify if you know how to, or you send me a note or wave like crazy to let me know I'd like a modification. All right, good. So the first thing that we're going to do is just begin to move. I want to try to just get a little length in my body. So I can't stand back far enough for you to see me the whole way. But if it's comfortable, I want you to bring your arms up. And I want you to plant your feet down, so that you feel like, I'm pulling all this and I'm opening it all. So I really feel tall, especially from my tailbone to my head. Reach. Now, keep that beautiful, beautiful length from your tailbone to your head, but bring your hands down here, right? So I'm tall, I'm awake, but my hands are here. And the first thing that we're gonna begin to do is move. So I'm just gonna rotate, I'm just gonna twist my whole body. My whole spine is going on like a rotisserie chicken. My whole spine is moving. I can really feel this in my feet and my lower legs more than anywhere else. And I'm just breathing. Now I'm going to stand still, and I like to kind of keep my hips still. And now we're going to begin to twist. And a twist means one side stays still and the other side moves. So I want my hips to stay still. My hands are here on my chest. And I'm just going to rotate from the rib cage over to the left. This is actually not a stretch. It's actually like a little crunch. It's a little ab workout. And you feel your abs working. And then I'm going to come back to center and I'm going to go the other way. And what I'm going to ask you when you rotate to the right is it easier to rotate this way than it was to rotate the other way? And now let's just go back and forth. So the hips stay still, and everything from the rib cage up twists. Notice that I'm not going farther with my head than I can go with my ribs, right? My nose and my chin and my sternum are all kind of staying in the same spot. Just juicing up the movement there. Now, this is really tricky. I want you to keep your ribs still, and I want you to try to move your hips. And just as an added, this is really going to help your dance moves when the disco's open again. So before I was moving from my ribs, now I'm moving from my hips. Good. Now, what about if we try to move our ribs side to side? Do you see what I'm doing here? All of this is in an effort to make sure that the house where my breathing mechanism lives can move the way it needs to. So we're just trying to get it to move in all directions. Now, you can keep your hands here, or you can bring your right arm above you, and we're going to side bend. So if I have tissue and muscles between each rib, and I sit a lot, and those ribs kind of schmunch down, they get too close to one another, that's gonna limit my ability for my breathing cage, my rib cage, to open. So now I'm just stretching there. And now I'm gonna go the other way. Wouldn't this be a nice series to break up your sitting when you're watching TV or you're sitting at your computer or you're writing? So I'm just moving and trying to encourage this area to warm up and move. Good, let's just do a couple more. Notice I'm not sending my hips all the way out. My hips and my legs are staying over my feet. When you do this, resist the urge to pop your ribs open. Keep them smooth against the belly wall like we talked. Excellent. All right, so now remember how I asked you, or Amy asked you in the note, to have a nice hard chair and either a flex band or, you know, you could use a belt or the sash or belt from your bathrobe, or you can sit on the floor, but I'm gonna sit on this chair. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my band and I'm going to wrap it around the bottom edge of my ribs. And I'm gonna do it elegantly. Or not. And I'm gonna tie it. Now, I want you to tie it as snugly as you feel comfortable, but you know, a flex band is gonna be more comfortable tying it tight than say a belt. So again, I don't want you to cause yourself any discomfort, okay? I just wanna feel like I've given myself a little bit of resistance with which to breathe. Oh, and look at how cute we look. All right, so there are many different ways that the body can expand to help us breathe. Most of them are perfectly fine, but we're going to explore several of them. So the first thing is I'm going to put my hands on my belly, and I'm just going to try to breathe in air and have it expand my belly. So let's breathe in, and the belly is allowed to get bigger. So I'm going to inhale through my nose, exhale through pursed lips. Inhale, exhale. Good, keep going. Notice, is it hard to breathe all the way this low? Let's do two more. We don't have to be stressed. Good. Now, here's my band. I want to find the bottom rim of my ribs. And remember, that is at the back of my body, the side of my body, and the front of my body. So the first thing I want you to do is find the bottom edge of your ribs on either side and try to breathe left and right. And if I get close, can you see? And play around with that. What about if you feel like, well, it's moving on one side, but not as much on the other? Then play around with breathing into the laggy side, right? The one that's a little slower. You feel the resistance of the band. So we're actually doing like little ribcage bicep curls. Now, put your hands on the front of your ribs and think about breathing this way, out front. But instead of doing it down here at the belly, we're doing it at the bottom rim of the ribs. Can you add to this the back body? So now you're breathing frontward and backwards, right? Let's do two more. One more. Good. Now I'm gonna put my hands on my chest near my sternum. Now, when we breathe, we don't want the shoulders to come up, and we don't want to focus our breath way, way up high, because we don't get as much good fuel from that oxygen that way. But that doesn't mean that we don't have ribs up here, and that this shouldn't be soft enough and movable enough to take in some air. So notice my shoulders hopefully aren't going to raise and fall as I breathe. But if I put my hands here and close my eyes and really focus inward, can I feel a little bit of pressure out into my hands as I breathe in? You can even close your eyes for this. Excellent. Okay, so when we breathe in, remember how I talked about each rib opens up and the whole rib cage opens up this way a little bit. So that means that our spine extends a little bit on the inhale and flexes a little bit on the exhale. So let's exaggerate and play around with that. Your hands can be wherever you like. We're going to breathe in and sense that the ribs are separating from one another and there's a little bit of extension. Ready? So let's do this 5 times. Breathe in, breathe out. And I'm going to sit this way so you can see it from this way. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. 2 more. Last one. Good. All right. In COVID, one of the things that we've been hearing a lot about is something called proning. P-R-O-N-I-N-G. The prone part of the body is the back of your body, all right? And so what they're implying when they say, you know, a COVID victim is they're flipping them on their stomachs so that there's more ability to breathe into your back, okay? And this, you're gonna get more oxygen back here than you are up front. So what I want us to do is just nod the chin, flex over, relaxing. I'm totally relaxed, but I'm really opening up my back. And we're going to take 5 breaths here where we imagine that we're sending all of our air into our back. Ready? So sit up nice and tall and then just flex forward. And then 5 breaths into this beautiful rounded space. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. It should feel good. Is the breath really only going into our back? No. But we're reminding the body that there's all this room for oxygenation back there. Let's do 2 more. And come all the way up. And again, I always have to ask, don't you feel more relaxed when you're breathing like that? So what are the things that we've already done? We've side bended, we've rotated, we've breathed low into our belly, we've breathed and felt how the bottom of our rib cage could expand with the breath. We've breathed here into the upper ribs without bringing our shoulders here. We've breathed into our back. So these are all things that you could be doing throughout your day to keep all of this healthy and moving. So the last thing that I want us to do, the last thing that I want us to do right now, don't pay any attention to that, it's not the last thing. There is such a thing that they talk about like COVID breathing, exercises that help you work the muscles of your breathing mechanism. And so I'm going to show you that right now. And if you feel comfortable, I want you to try it, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to breathe in as much air as I possibly can. And then when I think I've filled every nook and cranny with air, I'm going to take 3 more sips. So now I'm really full. And then I'm going to hold my breath like that for a little bit. And then I'm going to exhale, making a shh sound. But listen, once I've gotten all of the air out, I'm going to hold there and I'm going to try to vigorously cough. We're going to do 3 coughs without taking a breath in between. You know, a doctor might tell you to do 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. We're just learning, and so that's what we're going to do. All right, so watch me do it once, okay? I'm going to try to breathe everything in. Wasn't that ladylike and lovely? All right, so I really wanted to take a breath in between my coughs, but I stopped myself. All right, so if you feel safe, I want you to do this with me, all right? You can do it seated or standing, that's up to you. I'm gonna stay here. So remember, we're gonna take as much air in as we can. We don't want it all up here. Start at your low belly and then at the rim of your ribs and then bring it to here. Ready? And then 3 sips, hold your breath, full exhale, 3 coughs. All right, let's try it. Get all the air out first. Now breathe in. Hold. And relax. Did you try it? I'm gonna unmute you because I want to know how you guys feel.
Oh my gosh, super fun.
All right, so can you unmute everybody?
I sure can. 1 second. Apparently it went away. So we're just going to unmute everybody anyway. There we go. All right, it's working now.
All right, so I have to ask, how did that feel to everybody?
Good. Yeah.
Did you feel muscularly like it was hard to get those coughs out?
No.
All right, well, you know what that means. You're gonna do it again, and I want you to cough 7 times without taking a breath in between. And nobody feels dizzy or lightheaded, right?
No.
Okay, so let's try it again. Ready? Get all your air out first. Now breathe in. 3 sips. Hold. This is a crazy exercise class. So that is the exercise that you do once you've kind of juiced up your whole body. That is an exercise that your doctor might very well prescribe to you to really build up the capacity of your lungs. And if you've ever had surgery and they give you one of those blue plastic things with the thing that you put in your mouth and the little ball, it's the same. It's really making you work to build up more lung capacity. And you might as well do it now before you have COVID, right? God willing, we won't get COVID, but maybe we will. We want to feel better. All right, the last thing that I want us to do now, we went ahead and did some rotations and some range of movement. Now we're going to combine it with breathing, which really helps to create a fluid, it gets your soft tissue nice and juicy so that your ribs can open wider, so that the entire rib cage can expand and flex more easily, and everything, every benefit from breathing will be better. Okay, so here I am, I'm sitting nice and tall. You can keep this on if you like. I'm gonna bring my right arm up. Notice I didn't bring my shoulder up with it. I left that beyond, and I'm going to side bend to the left. My ribs are smooth against the belly wall. I really want to try to reach upward from the underarm and downward from the hip, and I'm going to take 4 nice full breaths into this place where I'm stretching. Ready? Here's Jada, wanting to be on the show. Two more. Last one. Reach, 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 and come all the way up. Already you might feel different if you scan the side of your body that you stretched, the right side versus the left. You should feel different there. So now I'm gonna bring this arm, I'm kind of bringing it up. It's not necessarily all the way back here because I want my shoulder girdle and my rib cage to stay relaxed. And then I'm gonna side bend to the right. And I really wanna plant the lower body on the left down as I reach the upper body up. And then I'm gonna breathe. I'm trying to send all my breath right here. I'm really trying to reach for my underarm, not my fingers, so that my shoulders don't come with it. Ribs are smooth against the belly wall. One more time. And then I'm gonna come all the way up. Remember how we practice flexing forward? Let's add a stretch to that. So I'm gonna flex forward. I'm gonna bring my right arm out in front of me and I'm gonna kind of sweep it over toward the left. So now I'm flexed and I'm a little bit over to the left. And I feel this huge stretch here and I'm gonna breathe into that for 4 to 5 times. Let your head stay relaxed. So now we're kind of getting into the back of the ribs. Do you feel that? And then come all the way back and relax. Let's try it on the other side. I'm gonna reach my arm out, I'm gonna flex forward, and then I'm gonna cross over my body, and I already feel a really nice stretch. I'm gonna relax my head, and I'm gonna breathe into the area that feels like it's stretching. Let your head be relaxed. Reach, 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 reach. And come all the way up. All right, I want you to bring your hand here to your forehead. I call this the woe is me position. Whoa, I was a theater major, whoa. Okay, and I'm going to rotate to the left, and then I'm gonna slightly open from the front of my chest. So I'm not, my ribs are still kind of connected down here, but I'm just kind of opening here. And now I'm gonna breathe into this. You could even put your hand behind your head if you need support. I'm breathing here. 2 more. 1 more. And come back to center. Let the body adjust for a second. Bring your hand to your woe is me position, or you can bring it back here if you like, either way. I'm going to rotate to the right, and then I'm just gonna slightly open. So I feel like my shoulders are opening this way, and my sternum is reaching down, and my clavicle is reaching up. What was that show, that cartoon where the girl would always get tied to the railroad tracks? That's what I feel. I'm breathing here. Just a couple more. And and come all the way back to center. All right, actually one more thing. I took a beautiful class. One of the things Charlie talked about was the trauma of being scammed and how to get past it. And I took a beautiful 5-day course on trauma, PTSD, all of that for movement teachers. And one of the things that we learned is breath and simple movements help to stimulate what's called our vagal nerve and help us be calm. So that's how we're going to end today. I just have my arms down by my side. The arm movement that we're going to do is we're just going to bring our arms up and down. My arms aren't to the sides. It's more like I have a big beach ball, right? It's a little bit more round and in front of me. Now, as we do this, what I want you to do, so bring your arms down here and inhale. And then exhale, almost like you're sighing, bring your arms up. Inhale, bring your arms down. Exhale, almost like you're sighing. So the ribs and the shoulders just naturally relax as you exhale and get out of the way so your arms can come up, and then inhale down. Now I'm gonna have us do this for a whole minute. And what I want you to do is just totally focus on nothing but your breath and the movement of your arms. When you exhale, I want you to just be like, oh, I'm so relaxed. None of those things that bother me are gonna bother me right now. Okay, and I promise I'll be quiet now. Ready? Don't think about anything. You feel tension in your body, let it go. Let's do 5 more. Three more. And then just bring your hands down. Notice how you feel in your body. Hopefully you feel more at peace. Take your little band off if you have it. Don't be surprised if you feel different in your breathing all day now, because we've really juiced things up. Practice these things on your own. And thank you so much for sharing and being here with me. I really enjoyed the class, and yet I'm really glad I had a little bit of a chance to move and breathe so that I don't feel so stressed about getting scammed.
Well, Sally, thank you so much. That was awesome. Is that Jade? Is that Jade, our star?
Jade.
Yes. Our other star of the show today was Jade, and who was delightful. And I feel so much better. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel great now. So
I'm so glad.
Thank you so much to everyone who joined us. Look for more classes with these two on our Facebook page and on the campusforcreativeaging.org website. So thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.